let's dive right in. Let us talk with Javier in South Carolina. Javier, welcome to the show. Can you hear me? Maybe it would help.
Hello.
It would help if I unmuted you, wouldn't it?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. I was a little confused. I wasn't getting any audio of the show through the phone.
Oh, that was my fault. Thank you for holding. Javier, welcome back.
Good to be back. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm seeing that you want to talk about whether or not people can choose their beliefs, and I'm curious where we're going to fall on that. What are your thoughts?
So I've been thinking a lot about whether or not people can choose their beliefs as of late, because, at least in my opinion, it seems like the sort of thing where I can sort of see either position, why someone would think either position. On one hand, it's not like an example that I've heard is like, choose to believe that the president of a country is someone other than who it is, or choose to believe that the capital of a country is something other than what it is. You can't do that, I've heard people say. But on the other hand, it seems to me like through self-reinforcement, or the reinforcement of others around you, plus self-reinforcement, that you can put yourself in the mindset of a certain belief being true, and that sort of fake it till you make it can sort of succeed in this case, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you, actually. I think that it's not an either or, which is why I really, really dislike it when anybody takes either position, whether they're theist, atheist, if they are saying, well, you can't choose what you believe, or yes, you can. Both are wrong, in my opinion, or at least not the full picture. The way that the human brain works is that it adapts, and that is the best thing about the human brain, is it can adapt to anything. You give it an environment and it will survive in that environment most of the time. It's just the thing we do for survival. So that is an internal biological, neurological mechanism, right? That is not within our control. If we live in a capitalist society, we are going to think that capitalist society is the way that things should be, or at least are tolerable, and vice versa. So for me, I think that if you willingly put yourself into an environment where a belief is required or supported or argued for, and you exclude arguments to the contrary, I think that, what you're going to end up with is a belief that, the moment that clicks and all of a sudden now that's part of your worldview, maybe that is not in your control, but you controlled your environment into that belief, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And that's sort of what, the side I was more or less leaning on, although like you said, I don't think it's necessarily a one size fits all, like for every belief, it's either voluntary or involuntary.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the follow-up to that idea is where the not accountability. Well, yeah, I guess accountability comes for people's beliefs in that aspect, because I, just laying out my cards on the table, I am first and foremost concerned with people's actions, not merely the beliefs that they hold.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, people's beliefs inform their actions.
Right.
But I also know, from the way I've lived my life, that one can hold beliefs and not act upon them. They can hold a belief, but then through some other sort of, I guess, path of thinking, understand, hey, I have this belief, but I gotta step back.
Yeah.
And not act on it.
Well, I would argue that is not the full picture either, because the reason that they weren't acting on that belief is because they had a stronger one elsewhere, right? So if you are a Christian, for example, I know that you are not, Javier, but if you were, and
I wouldn't say that I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of question mark.
All right, good to know. I'm not. I just want to let you know I'm not putting a religion on you. if you were a Christian and you believed that marriage was between one man and one woman, right? That is a belief that you hold. If you also have a stronger belief in valuing the autonomy of other people and that you do not get the right to dictate whether or not they do things, that is the stronger belief. That's the one that's going to stop you from, voting for somebody who's going to eventually try and make gay marriage illegal, right? So it's not that there are beliefs and then there's a lack of belief that you can choose. It's just that, hey, you've got a stronger belief somewhere than the one that you're thinking about right now that's going to influence whether or not you do that thing. And the second that other belief, the one you're like, in this scenario, the second that the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman becomes stronger than the belief that you don't have the right to other people's bedroom activities, then you all of a sudden become a bigot, right? Or at least one that is acting on that belief. So for me, I think that the danger, that accountability that we're talking about is in that structure where every belief that you have is interwoven with every other belief that you have. Some of them don't fit well together, and that's where cognitive dissonance comes into play. But at any given point, especially if you're surrounding yourself with a certain type of person, or a certain kind of argument, or a certain worldview, some of those beliefs are going to get stronger or weaker. They're muscles that are being exercised or not. And so it is always possible to hold a dangerous belief and not act on it, but it is never benign to hold a dangerous belief and not act on it, because the second that dangerous belief becomes the stronger one in any given fight, that's the one you're going to go with. And that is not a voluntary thing anymore. That is just how you are responding to your own worldview. So I guess that's where I would kind of push back on that, or at least add a little bit of my own take or perspective.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And that example sort of hits kind of close to home for me, as I've mentioned before. Some of my immediate family members are, to put it lightly, very homophobic. Even back when I was more, I guess, firm in Christianity, I was never really into that sort of thing. I mean, I knew what the Bible said, but I always was and still am more of a live and let live kind of guy, I really, after being told in my life a lot, I know what's best for you, I really picked up a distaste for telling other people I know what's best for you in regard to anything really, including the gender of person they were attracted to. So I was really more live and let live on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in terms of the weaving of beliefs, I guess that's generally I can see that point, regardless of my position on how I think someone should live their life. I've always had the stronger belief based more so in personal freedom and individualism, where, hey, you want to do your thing, as long as you're not hurting other people, go ahead.
Yeah. And the danger there is that if you did hold a belief that was being held at bay by your belief in individualism and personal freedom, that if you chose to put yourself in situations where you exercised the dangerous belief and not the belief in personal freedom, that belief would eventually overtake it and become the dominant one. And then, you might still have cognitive dissonance while you're going to the voting booth or while you're protesting at a pride parade or whatever, but it wouldn't be the thing that was driving you anymore. So that, I think, is why I talk so much about skepticism and having beliefs that are not actively harmful, because I don't believe that there is any situation in which you can hold them and know that in the future you are not going to act on them. So as long as you might not be acting on them now, and I'm not going to judge you for having a belief if those beliefs are not being acted out on. But I am going to be a little wary around you, because I know that that is a belief that's in that ecosystem that you're cultivating, and give you a couple of months in the right environment, boom, that's the one that's going to take precedence,
Yes, I see. I see what you mean. I also like to go by the, track record sort of thing.
Yeah.
I see how a person ran. To quote someone I probably should not be quoting, Dr. Phil. Even though I don't exactly agree with Dr. Phil on a whole lot of things, but I remember one time I was watching a show and he said the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So that's sort of seeing how a person, sort of goes along for a bit has been what I've been, is basically my favorite method of choice for that sort of thing.
Yeah, but again, like I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I agree, for all intents and purposes on the day-to-day, but we have seen our parents, our grandparents, and the people who are close to us absolutely fall for the most ridiculous cultish ideas in the last 10 years that are not predicted by their past behavior. And the reason that it's not predicted by their past behavior is because they did not have those beliefs as strong as they do now. And what happened was they fell into or went searching for environments that fostered that belief that at the time wasn't influencing their behavior, but now has been presented as either the rational course of action or, the moral good, and has grown to the point where there are a lot of us who can't have conversations with our families anymore about certain things. So yes, I think that on the day-to-day, if somebody is a nice person, doing generally good shit, awesome, like continue to hang around that person. If they consistently do things that hurt you or are unthoughtful, maybe put a little bit of distance. But also hold that space for the idea that even the people who are nice on the regular, if they are telling you that they have a bad belief and you're not seeing it acted on, that still warrants that red flag, because all it takes is one other person to validate that bad belief, one other person to validate that, and all of a sudden they aren't acting in a nice way anymore,
Yes, I understand. And it's always been a little bit odd for me in terms of that sort of thing, probably due to my more live and let live sort of thing I've made. I'm not going to say that I regret it, but I have been friends in the past with a lot of people that, let's say, are more than a little bit objectionable in the belief department. It just so happened that we get along, because it's real easy for me to get along with most people. And sure, they've held some beliefs that I found very objectionable, but
yeah,
I haven't really had a problem with it. But of course, I could not, how do I put it? I could not deny that I very much was at odds with those beliefs.
Yeah. And I definitely want to make this clear as well, which is I'm not advocating for culling your community to the point where only people who have only unharmful beliefs are left, because frankly, I don't think that's any of us. I think we all hold harmful beliefs at some capacity and on some level. I think that what I want to say is when you're thinking about opening yourself up to other people or giving people roles in the community that would allow them to have power over others, or voting for people, all of these positions where you are putting yourself in a vulnerable position, that's when you want to start thinking about, okay, maybe this person has said all of the right things, but I know that this is a belief that they hold, and I know that they have been talking with other people who hold this belief. At what point is this going to then become a situation where that belief takes over the value for, bodily autonomy or personal freedom? So, yeah, definitely not at all for the purist, crap of only engage with people who are unproblematic, because all that does is leave all the problematic people in their own little bubble. And it also is not possible to do without completely isolating yourself. So on the same page with you there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Although I get the feeling you and I may disagree on everything we consider problematic. I have never been a fan of just shut them out. I think that is just one of the worst things you can do. And if your ideas are the best ones, then airing them out will inevitably, in my opinion, show which one is the best one. But in any case, I won't take up any more of your time. I know there are more callers, so it's been nice talking to you, and have a nice day.
Absolutely. Thanks, Javier.
Bye.
Bye.